I'm Kim.
I'm Ran.
And I'm Maria.
Welcome to the Beshies Podcast. Yes, this is our
Welcome.
first episode, guys. I'm so
Yes, I'm
excited.
so
Excited.
excited.
In this podcast, we're going to explain why we did this podcast, what it's all about, and introduce ourselves as well. Keep it interesting for you guys. So let's start with Beshi. What does Beshi mean?
So Beshi means best friend. So basically we call our girl friends our Beshies. And anyone we meet actually we call them Besh. So it's just like a kind of endearment to someone.
We like have foreign friends, international friends, and then they ask what's besh, and now every like even with that, now that we've taught them what besh means, they also say
Mhm.
beshi besh, yeah. So it's
Yeah,
beshi.
and like we literally call everyone Beshi, right? That's the
Yeah,
beauty of it.
yeah,
Like
everyone.
even if you just met someone and then you just call them
Like
right away Beshi.
Besh.
Like I really love that term because it's kind of like breaking the ice, that
Mhm.
awkward moment that when we met someone for the first time, right?
Yeah,
That's how I relate to it.
true. Sure. Yeah, so to all our Filipino listeners, mabuhay, thank you for listening. um Maybe we'll do a little bit of introduction. Can we do that? A bit of
Yeah,
introduction.
Yeah.
I think I can start. Or do you want to start, Iran?
Okay. Sorry, I don't know if it's logging, but I said I can start even before you said you can start.
Oh,
Okay, go ahead.
probably not.
So
Yeah.
like lagging talaga.
Yeah. So, I am Ran. I'm 20 plus years old. And I live in Richmond here in Vancouver. So originally in Philippines, I'm Tuguegarao City, Cagayan Valley. So there's two kind of Cagayan, but more um more popular would be Cagayan de Oro. So I just want to emphasize that. And then I came here in Canada, I would say 2013. For just 9 days, I came back again because I was still studying, and then came back here when I finished school in 2015. So basically, that's my story.
Sweet. Yes. What about you, Maria? Do you want to share as well?
Yeah, of course, Besh. So again, my name is Maria, and I am originally born and raised in, where was I born? Zamboanga. Zamboanga del Norte. I went to college in Zamboanga City, which is 5 hours away from home. So I was raised in a farm, so it's like in a village, right? And then I went to the city for college, and then for work, I traveled far, far away in our capital city, Manila, in the Philippines. And like Ran, I visited Vancouver first back in 2016, 2017 for a month just to experience and see the beautiful Vancouver, how it's like before really moving in. And then I fell in love with the place. The mountain is beautiful, the ocean, the city. You can just see everything in one place, right? So I really fell in love with that right away. And then after a few months of processing my visa and all that stuff, I booked my ticket and came over here in Canada. And
Oh,
I've been here for a little bit over 5 years now.
nice. That's so awesome. I like how our stories are probably different, and then we have different experiences coming here, and yet we can still all like mesh and find similarities, right? So I also came from Philippines, in Manila. I grew up there, born and raised there. And then I was in college already when my dad sponsored me to come here.
Mhm.
I'm an only child, so I base when my mom and my dad wanted to move here, I have no choice but to follow, even though I'm already studying almost like halfway through finishing college, and I had to terminate my college life back home. Very hard, and like you have to restart your life all over again. But regardless, I think it's for the better. Like what Maria said, it's a very beautiful city to live in, and I'm grateful to be here. So I'm happy that I'm here as well. Been living since I think but yeah, since I was 19 when we moved here. Should we tell them like how we sort of met?
Mm.
Of course.
Yeah, like how you met your beshi.
How did you meet your bestie?
Uh,
So I and Kimi met first. We met in a Facebook social group. It's called Vancouver Female Connections. So it's just in Vancouver, right? So
Mhm.
yeah.
basically, but anyone can be a member of that group, even you're from any part, any I feel like any part of the world. They're gonna let you
Yeah.
join. Um, so basically, you can join there even wherever you are. If you're coming to Vancouver, finding friends or finding people, maybe you can share a space with something like that, or you can hang out with when you come here, or can
Yeah.
tour you around, something like that. Yeah.
It's a social group basically, especially like coming out of pandemic. We're still like slowly transitioning to post pandemic, but people are looking for that connection that was sort of lost during pandemic because of isolation. And so like people are really excited to form events or like form groups and experience activities again, experience, like the social if happenings that weren't happening during pandemic. So it was very timely when I saw that group. And I think like for the most part, a lot of females, a lot of ladies find that group a space, a safe space basically.
Yeah. We actually met just last year. Yeah. So we met from there. And Maria as well was a member of that group, and she was connecting to one of our close friends. Then that's when we got to meet.
Yeah, it's a really good way to meet people
Yes, and I
nowadays.
love how I actually met both of you. I think that's where in barbecue was it? Right?
Yeah,
I think
we were
I
so
think
happy.
all of you knows everyone. There was like 15, around 15 people who
Yes.
was there. And I was the only one who was new in that group.
Yeah, we were so close. We're already so
Yeah.
close, and then we got to meet
Mhm.
the first time, and it was an initial click. I would say, like we
Yeah,
all just
yeah,
bond together.
Yeah,
yeah,
it was one of the amazing meetup I've ever been. Of course,
Oh,
this is the testament. This is the testament to it, right?
yeah.
yeah.
Within
It
our
feels
first
like
year.
honestly, it feels like we've known each other for too long now. For,
I know, right?
Agreed. Agreed.
there's so
I
many
I don't I don't think it's been a
commonalities.
year already for me,
Mhm.
but yeah, we've hang out, and then we went for summer trips, and
Yeah,
really getting to know each other. And yeah, again, like this is the testament of
yeah,
how we clicked in that one time that we met, and then now we're starting this podcast
yeah.
that we can
It's,
share to everyone.
so what's the purpose of our podcast?
I had this idea. Maybe I can raise awareness to how we live our lives outside Philippines, or basically overseas,
Yeah.
and not yeah, and like sharing my story, and whoever other stories who I came across with, or we would came across with along the
Yeah.
way. like, sharing their life experiences, their challenges, and then their victories. And we wanted to like share that to everyone, because it's really relatable.
Yeah, totally. I think we can share the stories, the experiences we've experienced together, whether it's about restaurants, food trips, and like what you said, the summer trip that we did. I think it's worth reminiscing about just to share to them all those fun activities that we've done. And maybe it's something that they can also do when they move here, or people that are actually already living here, right? So we created this podcast because we would like to answer questions regarding immigration. True. I think this is a great platform to spread awareness of how an immigrant's life is abroad, regardless of your race, of your background, and also specifically in Canada, even more specific in Vancouver. And it's very exciting because I know a lot of Filipinos, a lot of other backgrounds are curious as to how is the lifestyle here in Vancouver, considering we are one of the best cities in the world.
Oh, so why did you choose Canada, Ran?
Um, I chose Canada because my mom is here already. She's been here specifically here in Vancouver since I was young. So I was sponsored by my mom. That's how I got here. And basically, if you ask me to, I have a choice actually if I really wanted to move in Canada or somewhere else. But I feel like hearing from a lot of stories too, and experiences, life is really here in Canada.
Mm-hmm. For me, I
Amazing.
chose Canada because it wasn't really a choice. We migrated here
Yeah.
because of my dad sponsoring us. So not really a choice, I would say, of
Mhm.
coming here, but it was a good um we had an option before to move to other countries, but my parents chose Canada, and it was a yeah, it was the best move, I believe.
Besh came. How did you landed here in Vancouver?
Because of my parents, yes, because my dad
Mm-hmm.
sponsored us, right? So he was working here for 2 years already here in Vancouver, and he got the provincial nominee.
Mm-hmm.
We can explain further later on in the upcoming episode. So what a
What's
provincial
a
nominee is.
provincial nominee?
What about like your expectation of moving here? Are you excited? Are
Mm-hmm.
you nervous? Do you have like family members already or friends from the past
Yeah.
that are living here when you first move?
Yeah, I think for me, moving here, I was so excited.
Mhm.
So one of my dream when I was a kid is to live anywhere but Philippines.
Mm.
And that was 5 years ago. That moment came true, or that dream came true. So literally right now I'm living the dream. And I'm looking forward to the 4 different seasons. When I came over here for the first time, we actually um went to Big White to do snowboarding, and also it was my first time to experience like actual real snow. It was a magical moment during, like, I think it was just right after the New Year, and then there was like snow everywhere, and in the
Mm-hmm.
mountains it's so cold, like negative 25 to 30, and then in every corner of the street I would take pictures. That's how excited I was.
Oh,
Oh, it's so
Yeah,
cute.
yeah,
yeah.
it was really nice experience. And I lived near in Kitilano before, so it's right beside the beach. And that is why I'm like, oh, I actually wanted to move here because um from where you can stand, you can just see the ocean, the mountain, and the city, right? So I really fell in love in that area. but right now I'm actually living in North Vancouver. It's still, I can still see the city, the mountain, and the ocean, but in a different perspective
Yeah.
of Vancouver, which is also amazing. And now I'm closer to the mountain, which I can just go snowboarding anytime, any day during winter, which is now coming up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you,
Yeah,
Ran?
there's for me, I don't remember that I had any expectations when I came here. Because probably it wasn't my family back home, right? Like many things to see. There's so many opportunities, and I I was just thinking about my future, so like future career,
Yeah.
and yeah, just mostly about that one.
Mm. For me, I don't really have any or maybe I set my expectations lower. Kasi, see, I'm using Tagalog already. It's getting late. No, because I was young. I was still young back then, and you're studying, right? I was in college, so all I wanted was to finish my studies back home, but I have to move here.
Yeah.
So I I was just lucky because I've got some friends from college as well who moved here too and was able to guide me while I'm new. And yeah, and it was just really hard in a sense that you have to restart all over again. I like that you mentioned the where you live geographically, Maria, because here in Vancouver, different cities, different neighborhoods have different cultures.
Mm,
I'd like to say, because Richmond, I live in
yeah.
Richmond, and to me, culture shock is not that. I wasn't very culture shocked because I'm surrounded with Asians, and I can buy. If I go to a grocery store, I can still buy like Filipino food or
Mm-hmm.
Filipino snacks.
Mm.
So the feeling is still at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but
can
I think
imagine.
yeah, like if, for example, I move to Alberta, then it's a completely different story. I have to adapt to their way of living right away. So it was a slow transition,
Mm-hmm.
and having friends, having some relatives here as well really helps a lot. And I think for the most part, for most Filipinos immigrating, and that's not really the case, right? Sometimes you get
Mm-hmm.
thrown in a place where you literally you don't know anybody, or you can't
Yeah.
even eat your food that you eat back home.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. I love how you mentioned how you were, what was it like for you when you got here, and that it was challenging for you. At the same time, it was also, you have support, right?
Mhm.
In your neighborhood, especially Richmond, there are a lot of Asians, but
Yeah.
for me, my experience was so different.
Mm-mm.
I think I was so excited with a little bit culture shock, but also at the same time, a lot of culture shock, because where I moved, I've never seen Asian. And everyone was just so busy
Mm-mm.
with their own life, right? It's so hard to connect for me to anyone. Even like I was so excited because it's a new place, it's a new country. Everyone is like, maybe friendly because that's how we are in the Philippines. But then where I was actually, when you walk in the street, I was like, try looking for their eyes, but then everyone was looking down, and then I wanted to say hi, but it's kind of awkward because I'm not sure if, like, do they want to say hi to me, or like, do they not want to be bothered or something like that. So there's that culture shock where I just can't say, or maybe I can't say hi to anyone, like right
Mm-mm.
away, or whomever I met, right? Yeah, so that's how really my life when I was new here. And all right, Beshi, Kimmy, what is life like now for
Ah,
you?
what is life like now for me? It's completely different from how it was before, because I think what separates or what makes your life here in abroad interesting is when you start putting yourself out there, and it's not like it's gonna happen overnight. It takes a
Mm-hmm.
lot of experience, it takes a lot of courage as well. And so life right now is, I think it's so far so good. Like I have a job. I have a job that
Mhm.
I've been working. I've been working there for almost 7 years now. Uh
Wow.
yeah.
So
And I
that was your first job ever here.
No, not really.
Oh.
So I when I moved here, I worked for a bit. I did What is life like now for me? It's completely different from how it was before, because I think what separates or what makes your life here in abroad interesting is when you start putting yourself out there, and it's not like it's gonna happen overnight.
Mhm.
It takes a
Mm-hmm.
lot of experience, it takes a lot of courage as well. And so life right now is, I think it's so far so good. Like I have a job. I have a job that
Mhm.
I've been working. I've been working there for almost 7 years now. Uh,
Wow.
yeah,
So
and I
that was your first job ever here.
No, not really. When I moved here, I worked for a bit. I really like to, I don't know why. I feel like I'm one of those people who just wanted to have 1 to 2 jobs all the time. So I started
Right.
working really hard. But
Multitask. We have a multitasker
yeah,
right here.
multitasking. And then I went back to school and I studied. And since then I've been practicing what I studied. And so I'm working now. And um yeah, there's lots of things that had happened during the whole time that I'm here. But basically life now is, I would say, well adjusted. Well adjusted
Mm-hmm.
to the environment, well adjusted to how, like, to the culture here in Vancouver. Yeah. How about you guys?
Yeah. So same with me. So there are really so many opportunities here, which led me to switch from healthcare field to the fashion industry.
Mhm.
So it made me realize what I am really passionate about. And I, for me here in Vancouver, or basically here in the Western area of the world, it doesn't really matter what job you take. It's about like
Mm-hmm.
if you have fun doing the job that you get into, and that's I guess will lead you to earn more money, and
Mm-hmm.
it's more fun to get to work every day, I would say. Yeah.
Mhm. You're right. There's a lot more opportunities, and there's definitely support from the government or from institutions that would
Mm-hmm.
help you achieve your goals. That's one thing that I really like here.
3, 2, 1, and I think that's the cultural differences of Western and Asia, particularly in the Philippines, because in like where we are right now is first world country, right? So um they're more passionate about doing what they want to do, doing what they love to do as their means for living, whereas in the Philippines it's a developing country, right? And so the mentality of especially my mom, she's around 70s, so is that like maybe what is that,
A
Z,
boomer age.
boomer age, right? Where they really have to work hard before in the field, especially my family, we own a farm, and so like they're all day out under the sun or under the rain, doing some farming, and then their mentality is all about stability, like stability here, stability there, so that you can have your future. And that's like where the disconnect of this two worlds are. And I think the us being here actually has an impact of the Filipino culture, where it's okay not to be stable, that it's okay to follow what you want. And there's also nothing wrong to, that you're not stable or you're not following what you want or what you love. It's really just, it comes down to what do you call that, priority, what's your
Mm.
priority in life, right?
Yeah. I think one factor that plays into it is anti-discrimination. Anybody, we don't, remember, like in Philippines, I've never worked in Philippines at all since I moved here when I was younger, but I believe that when you bring your resume to them, you have to have a picture,
Yeah.
and sometimes they ask you the age,
Oh
like,
yes, yes.
oh, it's
Funny.
age and looks are sort of
Yeah.
important features,
Oh
even
my
though
gosh.
sometimes it's not
Yeah.
relatable to your job,
Yes,
especially here,
yeah.
because they don't necessarily need to know all those details. They don't need to see
Yeah.
or like prioritize your looks
Mhm.
or prioritize your age. What matters is, I think, number one is education and experience.
Mhm.
Those two things are really what they're looking for. And so if you are a person who is a hard worker, or you want really wanted to follow your dreams, you have goals and
Mm-hmm.
aspirations, and you pursue that through education, then definitely you are a competent person
Mhm.
here.
Yeah.
It doesn't
And
matter
I
where
think
you come from.
it's really, that's one thing that I wanted to add about the education, because in Philippines we really have to have an education to be able to work, right? And that's the difference
Yeah,
here in the Western culture,
yeah,
where most, or maybe some, not most, you don't need to have like, bachelor's degree to be able to work at the corporate level. And I think and that's okay. And that's like in Philippines, that's like our stepping stone or a ladder to be able
yeah.
to work um at a corporate level. And I think it also makes sense, especially for those people who are living in, like, for example, for me, in the village or in remote or rural area where we don't have a lot of access to, like, internet, and like they
Mhm.
have to really have a
Yes,
job to learn and to
yes.
be educated, and that's understandable.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
yeah,
accessibility,
I
right?
mean, acceptable,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. With accessibility, it's not they have certain requirements. Companies have certain requirements, and yet accessibility is very limited to
Mhm.
a lot of people back home. And so that's where the disparity is coming from, because you have all these opportunities and yet you can't tap into it because you don't have the resources, or you don't have the means to to be able to apply to certain positions, right? Because our education, first of all, it's so expensive depending
Mhm.
on what course you want to take. Whereas here, there are government student loans that you can apply to, and that really helps
Yeah.
it a lot, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
all interesting topics. I think we have lots of
Yeah, we,
topics to talk
Yeah.
about that we can do in detail.
Mhm.
mhm.
Yeah. I want
Amazing.
to add too. I want to add that
Mhm.
uh of course it depends on really what job you wanna get into when you're here. Of course you
Mhm.
need education on certain jobs, like specifically if you wanna get to the healthcare field, or like those sort of jobs, you really have to have education. But as what Maria was saying, so like other jobs, you don't really need to have that certain degree, like
Mhm.
bachelor's or something, to get into a certain position. It just takes like experience, how long you
Mm-hmm.
you already work in that company, something like that, and how really how much you show that you're hardworking, or you really deserve a certain position. So that's a really good one. And same as in the Philippines as well, I would say that it's really good when you know someone who's working inside already, like a certain company, or
Mhm.
um, um,
Connection.
Yeah, connections are really good, especially if you don't have any experience at all. A lot of places here in Vancouver hires people even you're just a student, like zero
Mhm.
experience, because you were referred by a friend or by a family. That's why they trusted your credibility, some
Mm-mm.
sort. Yeah.
And they're very supportive of
Yeah.
students, right? Yeah, and
Mhm.
for entry level jobs, because
Mhm.
we need companies who would hire people with zero experience to kickstart
Mhm.
their careers.
Yeah.
And like what you said, referrals are very important regardless of which company or which field you're working at.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's really important. So yeah, so it's really interesting that we have this discussion. I think this discussion just can keep going and going because there's so much subtopics that we can talk about. So it's really exciting that we're opening these doors and opening these conversations. I hope that in the next episodes we might end up, inviting guests who are experts in their fields, and stay tuned, guys, for that.
Yeah, and also if whoever is listening right now, if you know, and if you wanted to have your story be heard or know someone that their story is really inspiring and interesting and that it really must be heard, please let us know.
Yeah.
Yes.
And by the way, guys, we are wearing the Philippine flag, colors of Philippine flag right now. I'm wearing red.
Blue.
White and yellow, the sun.
We're representing
The
Philippines. Kaya
Philippines
mabuhay,
flag.
guys. We're so happy.
Yeah.
Mabuhay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
later in the next episodes, we're going to talk about some more stories, places that we like to go to, maybe some food recommendations
Mhm.
and activities that we like to enjoy, and hopefully it's something that you get to experience as well when you move here or as you're living here. All right.
Okay, guys, this is it. We'll see you on our next episode here at the Beshies Podcast. Follow our social media accounts. For IG, it's at the Beshies Podcast.
And in YouTube, it's at the Beshies Podcast.
And of course, Spotify. Guess what? It's at the Beshies Podcast. So follow us, like, subscribe. And for now, it's ciao. Good night.
Yeah, this has
Thank
been great.
you.
So, Beshies,
Thank
for
you.
listening and watching us. We'll see you on our next episode.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Salamat.
Bye.
Bye.